Hi friends, and welcome to our first week of online learning, which is, of course, as you know, the rest of our school year for the 1920 school year. That's kind of crazy, and it's weird that I don't get to see you all face to face. I miss you so much. But this is how we're going to do it now. I'm just going to have you start this process actually with a reflection. Oh, hi, that's my cat, Gibbs. um, He's going to stay on the floor. So we're going to start this process with a reflection. Usually I do this at the very, very end of the school year. I wait till the last few weeks and then I have everyone reflect on what they've learned for the year. But I thought now would be a really great time to start that process because we've already had our last few weeks together. We have more to learn. We're going to do more what I hope will be fun and entertaining projects that you can build and tell story and do all the things that we do in theater, but in the comfort and safety of your own homes with things that you already have around. So that's what we're going to focus on for the rest of the year. But for now, I want you to think about what have you learned so far with what theater classes normally look like. So this is something that I do myself as a person, as a teacher, as a student, whenever I'm taking classes, which I'm not right now, but I did as recently as a year ago. And reflective practice is incredibly valuable for growth. So learning is part of growing. As you leave high school, as you leave college, as you go into the real world, I use quotes because you're actually in the real world right now. It's just structured a little differently. But as you go into the world, there are sometimes things that we do that we get stuck in. There are patterns that we get stuck in, and the only way to figure out how do I break out of those patterns and achieve what I really want to achieve is to reflect. And so I'm going to encourage you to do that, practicing both now specifically with what we've worked on so far in class, but also as sort of a Kickstarter to think about what is it that you want out of life. Just because life is crazy right now doesn't mean that you can't reflect on where you've been and think about where do you want to go, dream for the future, plan for the future, and set goals. So I do this in my life all the time. Since I'm at home, I was able to bust out this 180-page notebook, which I started writing in when I was about 14. So I started writing in this when I was in high school, and this is basically just a goals tracking notebook, and I would write down things that I wanted to accomplish. There's lists, there's papers, and I would be able to reflect on what I had accomplished in those goals and make new goals, set new goals based on, was I successful or was I unsuccessful, and why wasn't I successful? So writing for me is a huge part of reflection. This does not mean that I sit down and write everything out in paragraphs. I don't type stuff in paragraphs. I don't handwrite in paragraphs. I'm a list maker. And so maybe that's what you do. Maybe you're a list maker. Maybe you're a doodler and you doodle and you jot down words and pictures because that's what works for you. Maybe you are somebody who writes in prose and you type out a ton of ideas as you're thinking and processing information. Some of you are external processors in that you don't really understand what's going on in your own brain until you bounce the idea off of somebody else. Maybe you need to reflect with another person. Although I encourage you, if you're doing that, just share those ideas. I have a friend, she's an external processor. She likes to say when she's trying to figure something out, I'm just drafting right now. She's not necessarily looking for feedback right away. She's figuring it out on her own. So if you are an external processor who needs to bounce the ideas off of another person, let them know that you're trying to figure it out for yourself. You don't want necessarily somebody else to put their perspective of what's going on your reflection of your experience. So for this assignment, I'm just going to ask you to work through that process, do some reflection, and then organize your thinking and share it with me. You can do that a couple of different ways. If you want to make a video like I'm doing right now and share an organized reflection via video so I can see your face and hear your voice, that's fine. If you prefer to write things down and take a little bit more time to process and refine it on paper, that works too. If you like multimedia presentations and you want to do it that way, go ahead and do it. Just bear in mind that what I'm looking for is really your thought process and what you've learned and how you've grown. That's what I'm focusing on. So if you like to make videos and you decide to film it, run with it, go for it, but I'm thinking mostly about the content, not necessarily about the presentation. So you could have the most amazing video editing or the most engaging visuals on your presentation, but if the content's not strong, then you're not meeting the assignment. So think about that. Think about how you've grown, how you've changed, what you've learned, and what you can carry beyond this class. Because the beauty of theater is that it's life skills, it's communication skills, it's practical skills. And that's one of the reasons why I love teaching it. You'll see at the bottom of the activity that the extend is mostly just for you. I encourage you to set goals. So something that I did is a couple of years ago, actually in 2014, I set some goals for myself. And I wrote them down in a bunch of different places, but then I also put them in here. And it drives me nuts because I want to open this so badly. But over the years, I've made myself wait. So we've got like 4 years to go until I open this list of goals. It's a letter I wrote to myself. And I've been working towards a lot of those goals, but we'll see how clearly I achieve it in 2024. So I encourage you to write them down. It doesn't have to be a letter like that. It could just be a list, something that you want to run after, an action plan for your life. But I encourage you to do that because I know it seems like the world has stopped right now, but it hasn't. You still exist and there's still things to look forward to. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up right there and just say I hope that you guys have an amazing week. If you have questions, send me emails, reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd also love to hear what you're reading if you're reading books. So anyway, have a great week. I'll check in with you guys throughout the week if you need it, and if not, I will send you more information next week. Bye, guys.